We hit one estate sale the other day, and there's about 2 minutes of footage, so let's look at that and then we'll get into the rest of the video. All right, it is Saturday morning and we just hit an estate sale. $5, this Sun Devils Pro Player. It's like quilted on the inside and reversible, and then the big script spell out on the back. It was $5. So I grabbed it. It's missing that, like, you know, Pro Player jackets have the pull icon. It's missing that, but I still think it's a great jacket if it ever gets cold enough in Arizona to need a jacket. And then these mugs, these are like Walmart specials, but they are 50 cents. So those are cool. Turns out these are actually something somebody made on their Cricut, and I donated them because they're worthless. And then 3 shirts. I don't know. This one, I paid $2 a piece for these shirts. This one is a definite get. Vintage Tommy Hilfiger Essential Classic. And these are local Peoria JCs, but like Bride of Frankenstein on that vintage red bar. And then this one is like 2001 really cool alien on the vintage fruit tag. So no ridiculous home runs or anything, but we did find some cool stuff at a random stop. Well, good morning and welcome back to Mod and Pop Thrift. My name is Tom. I'm a stay-at-home dad for my 5 kids. We got a baby on the way, and I'm a full-time eBay reseller for the last handful of years. And I've got like, I gotta go get the list. I got a bunch of orders that have to go out today. Yeah, so today I have 27 orders that should be going out. I could have done a bunch of them yesterday. I only did 2 yesterday because evidently I'm a glutton for punishment. And I wanted to have way too many. 15 orders going out today that like have to go out today. I'll get as many as I can out. This I picked up. I would not have spent much money on this. I remember I got it at a yard sale. Now I remember where I got it. I think it was a dime. It's milk glass. It's like you can almost see through it. Milk glass. And then it has my morning prayer on it. Just a really cool, you know, something your grandma had around. Nostalgic kitchen kitschy thing. Sold for $7.99. And it was the beginning of this summer that I picked that up at a yard sale. Been listed since April 28th. So it took a while, but that's not the kind of thing that everybody wants. It's not the kind of thing that's going to sell fast. But when you can pick it up for 50 cents and sell it for $8, you're making money. Not this much money, but you are making money. This is Resistol. And we found it on the video where I sold the other Resistol hat. And it sold for I put it up for $99. I got an offer for $77 after a day or two, and that was plus shipping. So the buyer's all in at $121. I don't believe it's going to cost me $40. Well, that'd be, $40 that they paid for shipping. I don't think it's going international either. It's going to Louisiana. Buyer paid shipping. $39.04. The way I have it set up, 18, 14, 12 for 2 pounds. It's only going to cost me $20 for that label for UPS ground or USPS ground advantage, $17.96. So I can get this out for $18 and similar time frames. $18 puts us at that this sold for $100 plus shipping essentially. 20. Yeah, so that it sold for $90 plus what it's going to cost me to ship. So I'm making $10 on the shipping. And then I'll put up here, because I probably paid $6.50. I upped the other day my promotions to 6.5%, and I promote everything the same across the board. So I promote everything at 6.5%. right now. I was promoting everything at 2%, and then they upped the everybody has to do 2%. So then I went up to 4. And recently I'm like, I'm seeing a lot more people like, I promoted 15%. And I'm like, that's insane. I can't, like, I'm paying like 16% before promoted listings. I can't afford to do 30% to pay 30%. I mean, my margins just aren't there. It doesn't make sense. But I upped it a little bit just to see. I'm not permanently at 6.5%. 4 was doing fine. But I thought if I get tremendous growth, it's worth another 2.5%. If my store grows 15% in sales and it only cost me 2.5% promoted, that's well worth it, you know? So I'm testing the waters at 6.5% to see. It feels like a lot when you see people say, I just give away 6.5% of my sales to eBay. But if I'm getting even 10% more, there is a net gain. And so it's probably worth it. I think too many people think of promoted listings as like a eBay money grab thing that isn't, you know, doing anything for you. I think that's faulty thinking. I tend to hear that as I'm a victim of everything. I think that it's a card to play in the hand. You have to put Troy, Mountain Man Treasures. If you're not watching Mountain Man Treasures, you should be watching Mountain Man Treasures. But Troy says it's eBay's sandbox, and you have to play by their rules in their sandbox and with their toys in their sandbox. And so promoted listings are a tool that they give you to use. And if you choose not to use the right tool for the right job, you're going to struggle to get the job done. So I would recommend to everybody to use promoted listings. There's some sense that people think that like, well, I'm not making enough money to promote my listings. But you aren't paying for promoted listings unless you are selling something. Don't use the like pay-per-click. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about standard promoted listings. And they're getting you more sales, so you aren't making money without promoting listings either. And it's taking a percentage of what you make. I think it's faulty thinking to think that you don't make enough money to use promoted listings. I blame a lot of my success. I'm not like I'm doing what I want to do. I'm not like massively successful. Follow me. I just think it's interesting, and I know a little bit of tips here and there to help you guys out, but I'm not saying I'm an expert on this and you should do exactly what I do. You do your thing. But I think it's faulty thinking to think that you aren't doing well enough to use the promoted listing tool. And I blame a lot of my success on promoted listings because most of my things sell as promoted listings, and then I owe like 22% instead of 16%. Now I was doing 20% in fees, but 20% of fees when my margins are so large. I paid $12 for this, and it sold for $100 plus shipping. If 6.5% of that sale is what it takes to get that thing sold for $100 when I paid $12, great. I could sell it at a yard sale and maybe get $25. But if I put it on eBay and I pay them 22%, then I make so much more money paying them to help me make money. Does that make sense? All right, I'm ranting. I have a lot of things to ship. You're here for the rants, though. I understand that from the comments. Sometimes people are like, I'm here for the rants. Those two things sold. Let's see what else sold. This is not a magazine. I thought it was an 80s magazine. I think it's early 90s even. 89. She found her Peppa Pig DVD. Debbie Gibson. The Karate Kid. What's his name? Anyway, what this is Ralph Macchio. What this is, you would take it from the center and pull these pages out. So this is River Phoenix, River Phoenix, River Phoenix, River Phoenix. And this would be your book cover. It has things to fold, book cover. And then like this one's Ralph Macchio. And you get on the other side of River Phoenix and that's Ralph Macchio too. So it's a book full of book covers featuring Debbie Gibson and Johnny Depp and Kirk Cameron, Bon Jovi, the Bangles. It's a neat thing. I paid 50 cents for it. Didn't sell for much. $13 plus shipping. But it's cool, right? And it's not the kind of thing you ever see. Vintage Liberty long sleeve camo pocket t-shirt. Nothing special, but vintage camo stuff does really well for me. I would have paid 50 cents for that because of the box that it was in. It came out of a yard sale. Been listed a long time, and it sold for $10 plus shipping. But vintage camo stuff does pretty well most of the time. Okay, so I picked this up at Goodwill. UFC vintage. And it sold for $11 plus shipping. As real as it gets, UFC Championship. And then this one I picked up for at a yard sale for $1. I remember because all the clothes were $1 and they had really nice clothes. And I thought this would go quick. Nautica, unfortunately, even though it was a cool vintage brand when I was a kid, it did not transfer to being a cool brand when it became vintage. This is like just a nice comfy sweater, sold for $12.99 plus shipping. Vintage wireless controllers pretty much always do well, even if they're third-party Logitech. And this is an Xbox One, not Xbox One. This one is for Xbox, the OG, because Xbox decided to name a console Xbox One that wasn't the first console. Xbox gets referred to, the original Xbox get referred to as OG Xbox, original gangster. But legitimately, if you look up stuff for the original Xbox on eBay now, it says OG Xbox. I did get to test this, and it sold for $39.20 plus shipping. Buyers all in at $50 even. Not quite hip hop, R&B. Boyz II Men, horribly underrated band anymore. Like they ruled the world, and they're so talented. But again, something that was cool that just didn't really translate, evidently. Salt and Peppa, Boyz II Men, TLC, and Coolio. Coolio doesn't really fit the mold here, but it's not worth selling individually, so I allotted it with that stuff. $23.90 for those CDs. Maybe I paid $5, $1 a piece for them, but I don't think that I did. I think I got them cheaper than that, but I don't remember getting them. So you may remember I picked up a whole bunch of wrenches, like a box of wrenches for $30, and it ended up having 30 wrenches in it. This was one, 9/16 by a company called Proto, which I wasn't horribly familiar with, but evidently. So this is definitely a Proto 9mm and not a 9/16 Stanley. So I shipped that person the wrong wrench. They make quality wrenches because they all sold for good money. $10 plus shipping, but I have $1 into it and I made a ton of money on the lot buy, and that was something that I was just going to put together. Evie's going to have a Pop-Tart. And then I picked this up at Goodwill, and it sat in the death pile forever, and I shouldn't have done that because it sold within a day of being listed for $29 free shipping. Pierce the Veil is a Christian hard rock band. Collide with the Sky, Pierce the Veil. Get your two-step on. Okay. Earthworm Jim. 3D for the Nintendo 64. I paid $75 for this at our local retro game store, and it is not as good as the 2D platformer. I just didn't like it, and so I sold it, and the market dipped between me buying it at full market value and then an extra dollar or two and me selling it, so it sold for $69.55. It is what it is. That was not something that I bought to flip, but then when it was, me and the kids played through it a little bit and we're like, this is tedious and not as fun as we expected it to be, so we're like, yeah, I'm like, I might as well get my money back out of it, and I listed it for $75, and I kept getting $60 offers because it price charts at $65 now, and somebody came in with $65 offer, and I took it, and then it was the $69 is including the sales tax that they paid. Ray Kroc, the guy who stole McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers and turned it into the behemoth that we know now. $6.99 for this pin. I paid $30 for a vase full of pins, and this was one in the Pantheon, and they've all sold for, $6. I had hundreds of pins. I paid $30, and they're selling for $5, $6, $8, $10 a piece. I'm making lots of money a little bit at a time. VeggieTales is an IP that is worth looking out for vintage stuff. Larry, Bob, VeggieTales. This is just an eyeglasses case. Sold super duper quick. I paid $1.50. It sold for $15 plus shipping. This is a bag full of these teeny little squishy, they come in these things, if you're old as I am, you know that these little gumball things. Well, this is I think of it like a pencil eraser topper, but the bottom it's squishy. And I found a box. It was some kind of weird doghouse thing that was chock full of them. I had no idea there were more than 500 in there. But I looked through and okay, so what does solds look like on this product? Because the person who donated it to Goodwill had written the name Squinkies on the doghouse thing that wasn't part of it that they were storing them in, and and so I looked up some solds, and this was and there were a bunch of solds. The sell-through rate was decent, is what I'm getting at. And so then I'm like, okay, sell-through rate's pretty good, then it's probably worth picking this up for $5 when there's countless ones. And so I went through and we kind of skimmed them, and we found this lot that was all of these Little Mermaid pieces that were sold together. And then we just glotted everything else up, and it was over 500 pieces, and it sold for $80 full asking in less than a week. Very cool. And then I'm not going to attempt to pick all of this up, but one buyer bought these 4 books. Larry and Streak were the names of the author. A lot of 4 of those. And then William Colt McDonald, another collectible Western guy. Those 2 sold as a lot for $22 plus shipping. And then he bought the big bulk lots that I had that were there weren't more than one of each. There weren't 4 by any author, so they ended up in the lot as a pile, and spent $84 on 3 lots. One was 23 pulp Western paperbacks. One was a different one that was 23 pulp paperbacks, so there he's at 46. And then Max Brand specifically, we had 16, and so he did 46 and 16 would be 50, 62 books for $84 plus shipping. And so I'm going to be able to ship all, what is that? What did I say? 62 and 870 books. The guy's over $100, and I'm going to be able to ship them all together. And that is how I like to sell books. That is fantastic. So that's everything that has to go today. I'll get those. If we get the rest of it done today, then I'll put some more on this video of the things that sold today. Okay, so I want to point out on all those books, they ended up being 23 pounds, and I could send them media for $21, or I could send them UPS ground, guaranteed in like 4 or 5 days instead of a month, for $21.40. So it is always worth, when you're selling large media lots, it's always worth checking UPS. Not that it's going to be necessarily cheaper, but it could be round about the same, and it's a lot more reliable service than media. Okay, quickly, I thought I'd show you guys how I packed a $100 cowboy hat. So I put bubble wrap under it, and then I put this tissue paper, like this is, I bought this by accident, so I don't normally have eBay branded. I've had that forever. I thought I was getting poly mailers that looked like that. I just wasn't paying enough attention. So when it showed up, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll use it. So then I did a layer of bubble wrap underneath there, and then this, and then I took this 4x8x6 box, and you can see I folded the top tabs up so they're kind of double walled, and then this is protecting this thing from getting crushed. And then I resized this U-Haul box down to fit, and that was a 16 by 12 by 12 or thereabouts, a little bit bigger than that, and that'll keep that safe. Okay, so it's 11:30, the post office still isn't here, and I'm just getting messages trying to figure out what's going on. It said your eBay account is canceled, is what my brain saw at first, but what it was I canceled an order. I sold some spark plugs. I had the counts off. I didn't have the spark plugs, so I had to cancel the order and message the guy. Never cancel an order and don't message the buyer. I have had that happen to me every time that I've ever had an order canceled on me because the buyer didn't have the stock or whatever. I was still waiting on the item, and then I found that it had been canceled. But so as soon as I have to cancel an order, I message the buyer and say, hey, sorry to be writing with bad news, but I don't have the item. I went ahead and gave you a full refund. Sorry for the inconvenience. It's easy to do, and as a buyer, I'm much more understanding. If I know that the order is canceled, then, well, hey, I want to see if that tracking is updated in 4 days, and oh, it got canceled 10 minutes after I ordered it, but they didn't message me and let me know. Any hoozle, this is a shirt. I sent this shirt to the wrong place. I switched addresses, and so I got that shirt went to the wrong guy. He sent it back. The cap gun went to another guy. He sent it back, and the gun is already at the new place, and this shirt's going out today because it took me a little while to get back. So now you're all caught up on the mess on the desk. So I have 11 going in 10 packages because these two got bought by the same guy. I paid $15 or $20 for what ended up being $5 a piece for these die cut. These are really good if you can get them cheap. If you find a stack of them for $1 a piece, 50 cents a piece, a huge stack for $5, these are really good. I spent $5 a piece on these. I listed them this morning. This one sold for $15 free shipping within a couple of minutes. I listed them all except for one had some damage that I didn't know about, and that's the problem with buying things from other resellers online, is sometimes stuff's damaged and it doesn't get reported, and then I already Venmo'd the guy and I go to show up and pick it up and it's not in as described condition, but it wasn't bad enough that I was going to complain about it. Maybe I should have, is what it is. These I picked up for $0.10 a piece at a thrift store 2 years ago and thought they would sell either of the last two Halloweens since then, but they didn't. It's $5. McGruff the Crime Dog trick or treat bags. How cool are these? Printed in the USA, 1993. And they sold for $5 plus $5 shipping. And then this sold for $16 free shipping. So the buyer's all in at $26 on these two things. And I'm all in at about $5. So that works out really, really well for me. This is a piece of a Ninja. I bought a Ninja blender in a box and it came with a bunch of parts. This was one of the parts. It did not go to that blender, and what blender it did go to, and sell it separately. Sold for $10 plus shipping, but I bought the blender for $8, maybe even $6, and it sold for $100. So let's just sell that for whatever we can get for it, because we're well into the profit, and that's just one more tiny piece of the pie. I don't know where I got this shirt. I think I got it at a yard sale. Just a vintage NASCAR, double-sided, not even really vintage, 2006. Hey, wish Mrs. Mod and Pop Thrift a happy birthday in the comments, because it's her birthday. I don't know how old she is. But I do know that it's her birthday. 2006, this shirt sold for $9 plus shipping. Buyers all in at $14.80. This I picked up at the Everything's a Dollar garage sale, and this is why it's worth selling. Like, I'm not gonna comp every item at every garage sale. Anything, if I'm paying 50 cents or $1, I'm just gonna take the chance on it. So then, like, sometimes the Care Bears that I sell are worth $4, and I spent $1, and then I got to lot them together in order to make it even worth my time. But then I spent $1 on this, and it sold for $44. So that is excellent. And there's nothing I lost money on at $1 a piece at the yard sale. But this did exceptionally well. I thought for a long time, if you're my age and you had FX growing up, like me and my mom used to watch, and that's probably where my obsession with things having value beyond just retail value started. We used to watch a show called Personal FX, and it was kind of like Good Morning America meets the Antiques Roadshow. It was hosted by Tom Bergeron, I think, and they would bring stuff on the show, and it felt more like Good Morning America, but it was antiques appraisal and collectibles appraisal, and stuff that used to get appraised really high was Roseville pottery. So when I see Roseville pottery still, I pick it up and assume that it is worth something, and it is not. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure there are really good pieces that are worth something, but like this, I have 4, 5, 6 of these different patterns in the store, and they just don't sell for any amount of money. So I took a $5 offer on this plus shipping, but the buyer's all in at $17, so it must be going priority somewhere far away in order to be $12 shipping. Buyer paid $11.75 shipping to Hollister, California, which seems like a lot. I wonder if it, anyway. Wolf's Head oil, this one's full, but it's like gross. So I'm going to put that in a poly bag and then put it in a box with a lot of bubble wrap, because it is composite cardboard. It would get crushed and make a giant mess. I'm going to ship it UPS Ground Advantage with a don't put on a plane sticker on it, because that's how you do stuff like that. Went to a garage sale, and me and Evie picked out all kinds of toys for $0.10 a piece. They had, these were part of the $0.10 a piece Volkswagen mini buses from the Fisher Price 1969. So they had a couple of those and this train, and the train had another car, but it was broken. And then there's 6 of these little mini figs, the little people. And like, this shows pretty well something to know about these little people minifigs. So like, this dude is a plastic body and a plastic head. This dude is a wooden body and a wooden head. As is this girl here. She's wooden body and a wooden head with plastic accessories. This dude is a wooden body with a plastic head. There aren't any wooden heads with plastic bodies, but those different iterations are different values. None of these were particularly valuable, so I lotted them all together, and they sold for $10 plus shipping. But I bought the train set for $3, and then I'm into everything else for $1, so I'm $4 in. I was thinking it was more valuable than it was, so I didn't make a lot of money. I didn't lose money, because you buy cheap, you don't lose money. I'm gonna have the dog drive the van. And then I'll be able to put all of those in a box, because it was, this buyer paid $14 shipping, and so I'll make money putting that in a box, and I'm sure it'll go priority even cheaper than that, or maybe it needs to go, maybe I'll do Ground Advantage. Obviously, you don't step down the price, the quality of the service so they chose priority and paid $12.45 for priority, and it's only going to cost me $8. So now I'm, $14 plus shipping on my $4, and then I got to pay 20% fees on the $25 that they spent. You guys understand the game. So I sold all of those squinkies, and we already talked about those. This here is a vintage Hot Wheel. A lot of times you want a vintage Hot Wheel to have a red line around that tire. This is a red line era, but it is not red line. Obviously, it has a black tire with no red line on it. It is in remarkably good condition. There's no paint loss on the face. There is one ding, and it's a little hard to see the angle. Like right here, you can see that there's a spot where it got like run into something, and so it's not totally flat. I cut my finger, filleted my finger once on the side of a piece of metal while I was mowing somebody else's yard. It isn't really marked as Hot Wheels. It's marked as Rumbler, Bold Eagle back here, and then it says Mexico there, and it says Mattel there. But this is a very sought after, rare figure. Me and a buddy of mine that I buy his high-end collectibles at a price where I can still make money. And he goes out and buys stuff to sell to people like me. So he probably spent $5 on this. I gave him $60. I sold it for $164.99. I listed it for $199, free shipping, best offer, and I got an offer immediately for $165, like minutes. And then I sat on it for 47 hours. And the only other I had like 80 views and 13 watchers, but the only other offer that had come in was $160, and I was like, well, I'm gonna take the $165 that came in immediately, and if I don't do it right now, I'm not gonna have that offer on the table anymore. So after 24 hours of it being listed, 23 hours of it being listed, it sold for $164.99. So most of the time, the cars that are worth something are either really early 60s. Hot Wheels came out in 68. The first 16 are called the Sweet 16. They have like a spring. When you touch the back wheels, they have a spring. They'll say 68 on them. And then they started doing Hot red lines on the tires, and they're really good. This tire isn't 100% round, and I didn't realize that until just now. There's a couple of little nicks in that tire. Anyway, so red line tires, late 60s, early 70s, are good. That's what to look for with Hot Wheels. And then, like, people want their Camaro or their, 1985 Trans Am, or they want regular cars, like the 80s ones on card that are going to be worth something are going to be regular cars. Older weird stuff will do well, but like if something similar to this, a guy riding a bird motorcycle, was released now, those aren't collectible. Dragons that my son likes aren't what Hot Wheels collectors right now like. So just something to keep in mind as a general rule. And then I picked this up for $1 at a garage sale. It's How to Cure a Hangover coffee cup, and it's all in German. It has 2 handles, so if you're really feeling bad, you're not going to drop your coffee mug. I paid $1 for it, sold for $9 plus shipping, and it's been around for almost a year because I bought it in first weekend of October at Spoon River Drive. That is it. That's all that we have to do today. And that's all the time we have because I'm going to run out of memory on my phone before this video gets done. This is going to a person in Great Britain. So the guy bought it in Germany, brought it back with him to Canton, Illinois, and then I sold it to somebody in Great Britain, and the person's name is Lord Martin, and then their last name. And I tend to not give away information about my buyers, but that I just thought it was really funny. This guy's evidently a lord of something in Great Britain. All right, I think that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, following, and clicking the bell. All the things that you do, we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.